Hello all, and I'm late, but I guess yesterday, by the time most of you see this, and well, it's 1:30 here, so yesterday, um, was the 21st anniversary of Barely Legal, so I guess basically legal now. But yeah, so if you don't know what Barely Legal was, it was ECW pay-per-view, was the first ECW pay-per-view. Was built up for a very long time. It is on the network, so you can see it on the network. However, they don't have a lot of the lead-up stuff to the network, which that kind of sucks. But yeah, so I just thought I would just kind of just talk about, not review the show per se, because I didn't go back and rewatch it, but just kind of my memories of the show, because it is a special show to me. Um, I think I've talked about this on here. I never really tape traded a lot until I got on the internet in like early mid '90s, and then found other people to kind of talk wrestling with because I was really I had kind of one other friend that was a wrestling fan, but wasn't as big as a wrestling fan as I am. And so, I really didn't have a lot of people to talk to about wrestling. So when I got on there, then just everything started going forward, and everybody started talking about ECW, and so I started buying tapes. That was really the first thing I really started buying tapes on. So with that, I thought I just kind of went out from there. So when they announced this pay-per-view, I actually remember when they announced the pay-per-view, and I also remember the big show before they announced the pay-per-view, because on that show, or not, I guess it was after they announced the pay-per-view, but it was the big show before the pay-per-view. They announced, probably to ECW fans at the time, what was the biggest match, and the biggest match was Taz versus Sabu. They had built it up for forever. They finally had the confrontation. It was crazy. It was this. That show is not on the network, which kind of sucks. I think the build-up shows to the pay-per-view are on there, which kind of go over this, but you don't get the whole thing because it's a crazy moment. It is one of the craziest moments ever, and it's worth seeing. I wish it was. I've looked for it before on YouTube, and I can't really find it, so it's kind of but there we go. But so this was the first one. So I was super excited about this because nobody in Houston at the time showed ECW, and so I had to watch everything by tape, and so this was kind of a big deal. So when they finally showed it, when they finally were able to do it, and they went through the whole thing. They were going to do it one time, and they were told no, and then they had to do this and this. And there's a big whole thing, and you can kind of look into that. But when they finally did it, I was really excited because it was the first time I was going to be able to see kind of a non-spoiled version of ECW. And so they did it from the ECW arena. The show started. It's kind of funny because the first match was the Eliminators, which probably nobody knows who the Eliminators were. Some people might know who Perry Saturn was, but his teammate was John Cronus, taking on the Dudley Boys. Yes, those Dudley Boys. And this was actually meant to be a squash to put over the Eliminators, as the Eliminators were the team that were seen as the team that would be like the focal point of ECW. After this show is when you had a whole thing where a lot of the guys on this show wound up leaving for WCW before the next pay-per-view, which kind of messed a lot of things up. But yeah, so a lot of people probably know Perry Saturn from WCW if you go back and watch. But yes, that was the point. So the Dudleys basically got squashed. Though if you go back and watch it, you can see a Joe Gertner interview. If you've never seen Joe Gertner introduce the Dudleys, he was a big part of the ECW Dudley Boys. So there you go. Then let's see. It was supposed to be, I believe, Rob Van Dam versus Chris Candido. Chris Candido got hurt. He came out, cut a promo. It wound up being Rob Van Dam versus Lance Storm. This is kind of a funny match that some people probably remember because there were chairs involved, and Lance Storm did like the worst chair shots, the safest. They were super safe chair shots But this was back in ECW before anybody knew what they knew now, and you had crazy chair shots, and he did like the worst chair shots ever, and so people kind of booed him. But I remember this match actually being pretty good. It's the first time I guess it wasn't the first time I'd ever seen Lance Storm, but it was the first time I'd ever seen Lance Storm like featured, I guess would be the go. Then we had a match that I called, if everybody knows the Dragon Gate 6-man, to me this was the beginning, this was like the granddaddy of the Dragon Gate 6-man. In more ways than one, really. This was the Minichi Pro match. And you had the great Sasuke, who, if you just watched Joey Janela's Spring Break 2, yes, it's the guy. Gran Hamada and Masato Yakishiji. I can never remember who he was. A dude. He was a late replacement. Took on BWO Japan, because in ECW you'd have the NWO, you had the Blue World Order, which was like a takeoff of it, and so you already had the NWO Japan. So this was the BWO Japan. It was Taka Michinoku, Terry Boy, and Dick Togo. This match was probably the best match on the show. It's the match that probably most people, when they go back and watch it, held up the better, because it's ECW, and ECW is definitely a product of its time, so it held us up for shit. You go back and watch it, and people always are like, really, this is what you guys liked? But yes, this match actually holds up probably the best of anything. Then you had probably the most disappointing match, because it was super long, and it was probably, in my opinion, the match where everything Shane Douglas had ever said about Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels throw out the window, because both of those guys could have had a better match with Pitbull number 2, which is who he took on. And this match absolutely was the shits. The only thing memorable about this match was the point is that apparently Rick Rude had been the guy who had kind of was messing with Shane Douglas, but he always had a mask on. But he would talk, and everyone knew it was Rick Rude. So then it was Pitbull number 2 took on Shane Douglas, because Shane Douglas broke Pitbull number 1's neck, I believe was the storyline, if I remember right. This match went way too long. The crowd were chanting, "Go home, go home, go home." It was, yeah, not good stuff. But so Shane Douglas wins. Guy comes out in a robe, comes out in a mask. It's not Rick Rude, it's 911, but Rick Rude, because Shane Douglas came out with like security with him, and Rick Rude was one of the dudes in the security outfits. Lift up, place goes crazy. So there you go. Then we got Taz versus Sabu. Match was built up. Crazy match. Still enjoyed the match that I was looking most forward to on this entire show. Just an absolute, I just remember just being in awe of this match when it first happened. Then we had a three-way dance, and if you don't know what a three-way dance is basically a three-way with elimination rules. So you had Terry Funk taking on the Sandman and Stevie Richards, who came out with the Blue Meanie. Let's see, it was Blue Meanie, Hollywood Nova, Thomas Rodman, and 7-Eleven, because they're supposed to be the NWO. And Stevie Richards was Big Stevie Cool. You had the Blue Meanie, who was the blue guy. Hollywood Nova, who was Nova, but yeah, I love that. But anyways, and they had built this up all night. The idea was that whoever won this match would get an immediate match with the champion, which was Raven. Raven had been, this was kind of a weird thing, because you would think their first pay-per-view, you would want Raven and Tommy Dreamer and have the whole thing on the pay-per-view. That's not really what they were doing. I think I don't know. But yeah, so this was awesome. And again, if you just watched WrestleMania this past WrestleMania weekend, if you watched Joey Janela's Spring Break 2, and you saw PCO taking on Walter, I believe in the review I talked about the fact that he pulled out kind of a Terry Funk-esque performance, and PCO did, and this would be the match to watch, because you would see it. Terry Funk goes absolutely insane. This match is crazy. This is an ECW match for sure. And then Terry Funk won, took on Raven. Terry Funk was all messed up, bleeding, the whole thing. The whole time, Tommy Dreamer was supposed to be doing commentary, but he wasn't. And then, so, Raven, I think, had everyone trying to kill Terry Funk. And then, Tommy Dreamer went out, DDT'd Raven, Terry Funk pinned him, and Terry Funk won, and was your champion, and it was a happy, happy day. So yeah, it's pretty fun. I remember this being a really fun pay-per-view. Like I said, it was the first pay-per-view. It was the first like non-spoiled event of ECW I can ever remember watching, and really enjoyed it. I know Nightmare Bottle 1 really liked this too. He was a big, huge ECW. I think any big-time ECW fan, this was a special, special, special show, and was just like I can't even explain like how awesome I think this show probably was to people, unless you actually like were around the time. Again, if you go back and you watch it, you can watch it on the network without the cool intros, but you can watch it on the network, which kind of takes stuff away from it. So yeah, but it was it it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, but that's my memories of that and ECW and the fact that ECW. I firmly believe I think ECW definitely changed the business more than people probably think it did. The style definitely went away. I know there's people that still like the style, even though the style is completely dated now and it's not a safe style. But I think it definitely they definitely cut ground on a lot of things. If you go back and you look and you see how well stuff was booked and you see all that stuff, it's pretty awesome stuff. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to come on and kind of talk about that. So I don't know. I know a lot of people probably did not know this, but I did a live stream last night that I know people have been upset that they missed. But I did it kind of as a test. Did enjoy it. We'll probably make it a weekly thing on Thursdays. I'll try to like send out stuff saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do this." So probably Thursday nights, 10ish. We'll say. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. Other than that, that's it. And I'm out. Later.